It's a response video to Edifying Others. Um, it was on the video titled Eternal Torment, the Doctrine of the Lord. I just wanted to make it a response video because, he uses the same, arguments that eternal hell believers use. Obviously they use their mistranslated Bibles. He talked about Ionios, and he basically was saying that it always means eternal, even though it doesn't. Because when you look at like a lot of places where you find that word, you'll find it like in the book of Jonah, where Jonah was eaten by the whale, and it says that he was in the belly of the whale for a period of Aionios, which is obviously not eternal, because it says that he was in the belly of the whale for 3 days. Yet the Greek word to translate 3 days was Aionios. So how can he say that Aionios always means eternal? And he talked about eternal punishment, eternal hell, which I would say is incoherent to say that, because punishment must begin, and also hell began because in the book of Matthew it says it was created for the devil and his angels. So by default, it's not eternal because they have beginnings. Okay, only things that are eternal don't have a beginning, which is God. God is for eternal. God is at forever. Eternal. Things like that. I would say God is the everlasting fire, so to say. But at the same time, he was using the verses where it talked about the everlasting fire, but it would use the same word. I think Aionios. And yet, I think in the Greek Septuagint, it's translated as age-lasting. And there's a lot of early Greek patristic church fathers, that did teach age-lasting punishment. You see, because the whole purpose is not to torment people for all eternity. Okay, how I know it's not a doctrine of the Lord is because it is absent of the righteousness of God, which I said in my other video, against hell, was that hell is absent of the fruits of the Spirit. Okay, if it's a judgment of God, its foundations must always be the fruits of the Spirit, right? Or the righteousness of God, that which is apart from the law. It's not the same thing. The righteousness of God is not the same thing as the righteousness of God. The righteousness of God is not the same thing as the righteousness of the law. Okay? So like, when we talk about like what is pleasing to God, right? Justice, grace, mercy, love, peace, forgiveness, right? Stuff like that. All that stuff, is not found in hell. Even people like Edifying Others, they say that stuff stops in hell. Well, if it stops in hell, if grace, mercy, and love cease at hell, then it ceases to be a righteous judgment. Okay, you can't say God is both glorified by mercy and mercilessness. That's absurd. How do you teach righteousness? How do you teach mercy from a place of mercilessness? Okay, would you really let your own kids watch such a thing? What will they learn? They will learn unrighteousness. Okay, even in Lamentations, in the Old Testament, Lamentations 3:30, 32, I think, it says things like, when God casts away, or when God forsakes, He does not forsake forever, or He does not cast away forever, And that it went on to say other stuff, but it was a verse that contradicted eternal separation, or eternal torment, or eternal hell, whatever, these hell believers want to say, however they want to, rename it. Also, not only because it lacks the righteous qualities of God's character, okay, as to why I say that edifying others is wrong, okay, about it being a doctrine of the Lord, is because, you know, another reason that I can think of as to why it's not a doctrine of the Lord is because it leads not to moral living, but to cruel and unusual punishments. Okay, that's why you had a bunch of Roman emperors, like Justinian. He would have people killed violently in front of him, you know. Or there was this one queen in England, I think it was. I forgot her name, but she basically, like if if you look up the video, "Fruits of Eternal Torment," or it's actually the foul fruits of eternal torment. Okay, it's a video playlist. I forgot the channel name, but you'll find the playlist. You'll find the playlist on YouTube. You know, and talked about you know, how that one queen. You know, she basically said, well, because God burns people alive, so shall, you know, us too will burn people alive, just like, you know, God, basically, because you see, you follow after the example of your God, because that's the God you believe in. See what I mean? So this kind of stuff, this eternal torment thing, and then, yeah, this eternal torment doctrine, its fruits are foul. Okay, and I argue that Christ never actually taught it. I don't deny that it's in the Bible. What I deny is that Christ actually spoke about it. There's a difference. Okay, Christ is the Word of God, not the Bible. And then, you know, even in that same video playlist, talks about how, you know, those street preachers that preach, and I heard this kind of story, I would hear just similar stories, you know, about, you know, like these mothers, they get fear-mongered, you know, they feel guilty and stuff like that because of street preachers coming down on them with sin, condemnation, and stuff like that. And then they start, you know, preaching these lies about an age of accountability, which you can't find that in the Bible. Okay? Especially if you believe in original sin, you know, it doesn't matter. I don't believe in original sin. That stuff is false. But yeah, you know, these mothers will believe these preachers, and they will believe in this doctrine of hell, and, you know, they will come to the logical conclusion that if I want to spare my child, okay, from potentially going to hell for all eternity, and it's better to kill them before they reach that age of accountability. You see what I mean? And this stuff has actually happened, where parents have actually killed their own kids because they love them, you know, because of that doctrine. Okay, and they kill them, and then they would literally believe that they're gone to heaven, that did the right thing, you know. That is the kind of foul fruit, that some kind of twisted thinking that is not of Christ. Okay? That's why I deny Christ spoke about that doctrine, because he didn't, in fact. And the way the Bible kind of does slander Christ, because it, you know, it's almost like, you know, did Christ really say that? No, this is what he really said. He didn't really speak about Gehenna. He didn't really speak about age-lasting life, age-lasting punishment. He spoke about everlasting, eternal punishment. He spoke about hell. He spoke about all that stuff that's in the Bible. That is, you know, it's clearly been tampered with. If you're honest with yourself and you pray about it, you know, you'll understand that, you know, that Bible's translated by people who think like you. Okay? They're corrupt people, corrupt individuals who, you know, they don't understand God. They're depraved people. You know, and the fact that you think it's a righteous judgment of God is blasphemy. Because, you know, God is not glorified by mercilessness. And I don't see how you can get away with saying that he's glorified by both mercy and mercilessness. You know, mercy for the righteous, merciless for the wicked, you know. But at the same time, you know, you have to question his character. You know, like, does he love only those that love him back, or does he love Does he love like a human, or does he love like God? You see what I'm saying? Because he's not like us in a way, but we are to be like him. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you believe that it's okay for, the way God forgives is just, to crucify innocent people and then turn around and forgive the one who offended you. I mean, is that the way we should forgive? Like I can slap, you know, my sister or my mother across the face and then turn around and tell my brother who offended me and say, hey, you're forgiven because I'm at peace now. You see what I'm saying? Like, eternal hell ties into the angry God, which ties into these corrupt atonements that I would say were born in the Dark Ages, okay, by a bunch of Roman lawyers, Roman influenced, pagan thought, all that kind of garbage. I mean, even Augustine around the, 4th century, I mean, even he complained that there were many people who believed in universal salvation and denied the eternal torment or damnation of many. Okay, so I would say that that eternal torment is not a doctrine of the Lord. I dropped a few comments on your video, but I guess you didn't see them or whatever. But yeah, I mean, just because your Bible says it does not make it true. I mean, by default, you have to go back to the original languages, just like you were doing with the word aionios, which if you read it, it's found in multiple places, like you never mentioned Jonah, where it's clearly used in that verse to describe that he was in the belly of the whale for 3 days. It was for a period of aionios. Okay, so it doesn't always mean eternal. And like I said, it's self-refuting. It's self-refuting to say that eternal punishment and eternal hell, because there is no such thing. I mean, eternal. If it had a beginning, then it's not eternal. Eternal things have no beginning and they have no end. I mean, even in the mistranslated Bible, in the book of Revelation, it says that hell and the grave, I think it was, or Hades, gets tossed into the lake of fire. So that right there shows that it's not eternal. Okay, and also you talk about, also I would say that for God to truly be all in all, then by default there is no more wickedness, because where God is, there is righteousness, there is goodness. Where God is absent, there is wickedness. Okay, and if God is all in all, there is no need to torment anyone. In fact, if God is all in all, then righteousness, goodness, all this stuff, it dwells within all in all. Whether in our consciousness, in our bodies, or in our spirit, and things like that. So that's another thing, like sin is not described as a sin to God. I mean, I know you don't mention these things in your video, but they do tie in together in a way. Okay? So I'm sorry, you can quote other church fathers that agree with you, but at the same time, they have to have justification for why they believe what they believe, and they have to go to the apostolic tradition, and they have to go through the disciples and the writings of the apostles. So even though you can quote church fathers that believe in eternal hell, they still have to, even though most of them, all of them that did believe in an eternal torment, they didn't even speak Greek. Okay, so Augustine even admitted he could not speak Greek yet, even though he could have consulted other Greek-speaking, monks or something, like he could have consulted with them who actually spoke Greek, but he didn't. He just spoke like he was some kind of authority, Greek-speaking authority, which he don't. He admitted he knew nothing of Greek. Okay, yet his thought, which is contradictory to Paul's thought, runs rampant throughout all of the Western churches and some Eastern